testing right now, but it's just, okay, so now that says going live. Now it says you're live. Let's see if that comes through on YouTube.
Bluetooth headset on, so it's kind of cool.
Okay. Okay, so it looks like it went live right when you said the part about your Bluetooth headset.
Got it.
So I'm going to go ahead and bring you up on screen, Tim. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Whoops, that's not the right screen. I've still got another click I've got to do over here. There you go. I've got you now. Hi.
Hey, Doug.
All right, so Tim, what we're doing this time is we're going to create a image backup of your computer. And that was because, oh yeah, we want to do, the last video we did, we found that problem where there were those empty folders we couldn't delete. So what we're going to attempt to do is an image backup of your computer and then do an image restore and see if that eliminates those empty folders. Because I'm thinking the image backup is not actually going to back up those folders because they don't, the computer's actually telling us that they don't exist.
Yes, and I figured out why it was doing that, I think.
Oh, did you? What'd you find? What's your theory?
Well, usually when I'm done editing and go and click batch process, I will go to the store or go watch TV or something. And I think I figured it out last night. Instead of doing that stuff, I start doing some other work on the computer. And I thought I had 32 gigs of RAM, only have 16, which could be plenty. And I watched the task manager last night, and it's just tagged out, and the computer's almost overheating.
Oh.
So I didn't do anything, but only that. And it didn't have that problem. So I believe that's the cause of the source. Can't run more than one window in the background.
Okay. I don't know what's causing it, so that's as good as anything. But let's see if we can fix it with doing this image backup. So I'm going to punch over to your computer now, and let's see. I think, yeah, there's another adjustment I need to make. I'll bring our meeting up here and bring that picture down. And you're actually there, your Zoom session with me is not on your computer, so we don't have your Zoom window to deal with on the computer. Okay, so we're going to use the program Macrium Reflect Backup. And did you say you've already installed that on the computer?
I've got a shortcut on the desktop. My mouse is hovering over it.
There you go. Go ahead and launch it. And do you have an external backup drive attached?
Yeah, I was going to use one of these guys, but they're being fussy. So I've got my passport plugged up to it, which is 3 terabyte, and I already created a separate partition in it for a backup.
Okay, so that
would be volume T.
Volume T with a 1.29 terabyte size. And your volume E looks like it's full. Yeah,
it does backup automatically for me of pictures and documents and so on and what forth, and it deletes old ones as it goes along. So I'm not worried about that being full.
Okay, gotcha. Then what we want to do is back up your disk 1. The entire disk will become an image in this volume here. So I'm going to point out a couple things. This thin blue line around this section right here is the reason why we see these two options, clone this disk and image this disk. If I click down here in this section where we see a lighter blue outline, click on that, then that makes this one current. Now we have these two options available for this drive. We don't want to make an image of your backup drive. We want to make an image of your primary drive. So we got to click in that section so that we have these two options available here. So there's clone disk and image disk. If we were to clone disk, it would take this whole image, all these partitions that you have on your primary drive, and make an exact clone on your backup drive. And that would typically be done when you're going to actually replace a drive. Like, let's suppose you have a mechanical hard drive in your laptop and you want to clone it. You, pardon me?
I've done that before. That's what I do when I replace hard drives, but we don't want to replace it.
Yeah, you don't want to, but for the purposes of people who are viewing this video, I'm pointing out this extra piece of information that you could attach a SSD drive through a USB port on the computer and choose clone so that you can clone the drive that's installed in the laptop to an SSD. And then once that's finished, you could install the SSD inside the computer in place of the original drive and then be able to start up the computer on an SSD. Of course, that could be done with a laptop or a desktop or a tower. So what we're going to do is create an image. So that's going to take all 4 of these partitions and put them into a single file on this partition. Now we don't have to do...
It's kind of interesting that one up there, it says formatted primary, which I've never seen before.
Right. And that's commonplace, that a hard drive has other partitions other than what we normally deal with. We could actually just do a image of the C drive, and that would work fine. We don't really need to do these other partitions. This one would be a Windows recovery environment tools. So like if your hard drive gets damaged, you can go into a recovery environment that comes with Windows 10. Well, that comes from this partition. So if we were to, for instance, clone this C drive to a new drive and not include these other partitions, then you wouldn't be able to use the Windows recovery environment.
Yeah, you lose all those tools.
Yeah. And then this one over here is probably there by virtue of the manufacturer of the computer. I think I've looked into it in the past, what's in there. I think it has to do with the startup of the computer, and it's a FAT32 rather than NTFS. But for our purposes, we could just do the C drive. My normal routine is to do all of what's here because these other partitions are very small. 588 megabytes compared to 608 gigabytes. It's really, really tiny. Okay, same thing here. This one's megabytes, this one's megabytes. This graphic image showing us these different partitions, it is not to scale. Okay, it gives us an idea that this one is larger than the others, but it's not showing us a relative scale. So I like to put a check mark on. I click that once to get rid of all of the selections and then again to select all of them.
Yeah, it highlights all of them.
Right. Okay. Now we're on the backup tab right now. If we were on the restore tab, all of these options in here are different. If we're on the log tab, this whole area is different. So what we're working with now is the backup tab. We've got all those check marks. While we're on the backup tab, we've got all these tabs that we could deal with. For our purposes today, we don't care about those. So we're just going to get rolling with starting this backup. Now you've got 608 gigabytes, so that's going to take a while.
Probably 3 hours.
Huh?
Probably 3 hours.
You think 3 hours?
That's what I think. Well, the software I used to use was from a bootable CD or flash drive, and the technology was really old, and it just takes forever. So I've never used this software before, which is kind of neat. It's actually on the computer.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to. Your prior experiences with booting from a bootable media, USB or something.
And you have to have a
That
separate computer to do that.
yeah, yeah. I'm not sure how this is gonna go by comparison. Now, your main hard drive is probably is it spinning or is it SSD?
It's not a SSD. I wish it was. I'm
All
thinking
right,
about putting one in it.
all right. And your external, it's probably a spinning drive.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a what is that guy? That's oh heck, made by the same company as these. These are, I forgot what WD stands for.
That's Western Digital.
Yeah, it's a Western Digital Passport, which is a portable hard drive that you can carry with you, and you don't have to have separate power for it. You
Yeah.
just plug it in and go.
So I was contemplating whether if I'm going to bet against you, then I have to say either less than 3 hours or more than 3 hours. Are you saying at least 3 hours, or are you saying not more than 3 hours?
In the past, it's always taken 3 hours, but this is different. Might be less, maybe an hour. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to say more than well, definitely more than an hour. I'm sure it's more than an hour. I'm just not sure. I'm contemplating. Could this be less than 3 or more than 3? I'm going to say more than 3. I'm going to say
Really?
more than 3, and that's going to be good because I want some time for a lunch break.
Me too.
3 hour lunch break. Wow. I like this job. All right, so let's get this rolling. So if you want to go ahead and click on image this disk. So there we've got the check marks. This is another place where we could select which check marks. In the bottom part, you're going to select your drive and the folder that you want to put it in. There's those 3 dots ellipsis button at the end. You could click on that and then browse to where you want to put it. You said you want to put it on the T drive rather than the E drive.
I've already got a subfolder in there created.
Okay, and there's a button here that you could create a folder if you wanted to. You already have a folder called Dell Inspiron Laptop Image Backup. So go ahead and single left click on that. And then click on the OK button. So now in the folder field, it shows us the name of that folder. And we don't care about alternative locations. Now I'm going to take the mouse for a moment and point out this check mark right here means that the file name is going to be the image ID, which is an ID number that may or may not make sense. Depending upon whose computer I'm backing up, I typically remove that check mark and I put a user-friendly name, such as in your case, I would call it Dell Inspiron Laptop. And then it's going to add a -00-00, and those numbers would increment if you do differential or incremental backups after that. Okay? Do you care whether we take the image ID or type in a custom name?
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I'm going to choose image ID so I can remind myself what that image ID looks like because I don't remember, frankly. The advanced options, I don't think I ever have occasion where I make changes there, but just to show you what those do, it would let you do file sizes. I think it'll split it up into multiple files or password protected or auto verify comments or shut down afterwards. If you're using a paid version, you can have it send you an email. So I do have that for some client computers where we use a paid version, so I receive an email when their backups are successful or fail. Okay, so go ahead and click the next button. And then here's an area where we can select a template, or we could just select a backup. So I'm going to point out a few things here. When I click this drop down arrow for template, We could choose grandfather, father, son, although that won't work with the free version. Differential backup will work with the free version. Incremental will not. Incrementals forever will not. So our choices here is differential backup or none, meaning you're not going to use any template. And then we could just select a full backup rather than a template. So variations on what you would want to do. We're not actually intending to schedule anything. And this is for scheduling in here. So I'm going to cancel that. All this up here is about schedules. The template is for a template of schedules. Really all we're after is a full backup. And these parts here about how many full backups will be kept, we also don't care about that. So for our purposes, we actually don't need to make any changes in here whatsoever. Go ahead and click Next. And then this shows us the choices that we've made for our purposes. We don't even need to review this. Go ahead and click the Finish button. Now here, I'll take the mouse for a moment. Run this backup now. That is what we want. If we don't select that, then we could run this backup at a later time. We didn't set up any schedule. Saving this backup is going to save it with this name, and it's going to save it in this folder. That makes it convenient for us to come back and do this again at a later time. We don't intend to. Even if we save this, it's going to back up the entire hard drive, including this saved backup. So when we restore it to your computer, it's going to restore that backup job.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And the one in parentheses would imply that there's already a backup job in there called My Backup.
It's got a 1 on it.
Yeah. So you might have previously done this. The first time through, this writing here should say My Backup without a parenthesis 1.
Oh, I was playing around with it just to see how it worked. That's probably why. But I canceled the backup. I didn't need to do one.
Okay, that's fine. I'll go ahead and click on the OK button. And, well, let's see. Save backup, run schedules. We didn't schedule anything. Yeah, we'll save it. Okay, so click OK. And that's going to set it off and running. And as this is running, it's eventually going to give us an estimated time remaining. And those estimates can be way off. It makes the estimate based upon how much compression it's currently achieving, and it assumes it's going to get that compression through the rest of the entire drive, but that may or may not be the case, usually not the case. But it could take longer or it could take less than what the first estimate comes up with. And it may be a while before it comes up with an estimate, so at this point we're just going to let it run, and then we'll get back in touch once it's done. Delete those. Yep, nothing else there worth mentioning. So does that all make sense? We're ready to end our session for now. Do you have any questions or thoughts?
Nope.
Okay, then we're done. I'm going to, let's see. I don't even have the button to click your end. So if you'll just hold your peace for a moment, I'm going to do my sign-off spiel, and then I'll come back to you after I've stopped the recording. Okay, so hold on a minute. Okay, so that's it with Tim. We are starting a image backup of his computer, and then we'll come back and do the other session to see the follow-up of how long it took and do the restore operation and see if that fixes his problem with some folders that are empty but will not delete. And we covered that in a prior video. So if you would like to request a session with me for support on your computer, send an email to the address showing on your screen right now, DougBetts at LiveWindowsTraining.com. Give me an idea in the body of the email what you'd like help with, and we'll put it together. So I hope that was useful to you. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.